We've spoken a lot about this, and there's been a lot written and discussed about President Biden's bear hug approach to Israel in the wake of the October 7th attacks. He, of course, flew to Tel Aviv just days after the attacks, demonstrated firm U.S. support of Israel in the wake of the attacks and the killings. And part of this strategy was that if you held Israel close and refrained from criticizing them in public, you could influence them in private and influence their actions. The administration would, of course, argue that they have done this because Israel didn't want to allow any aid in, and they have allowed, very limited amounts of aid in, and some other measures related to the military strategy, reducing the number of troops, not attacking Hezbollah. But now we seem to be at a point where President Biden is often left holding the bag. Netanyahu very publicly defies the president's requests and urgings, despite unprecedented U.S. support throughout this war. The U.S. looks unable to significantly influence Israeli actions, especially in recent months. So, in terms of this bear hug strategy, do you view that as that was the right move, or part of a miscalculation on the part of the president and his administration? And how would you characterize their approach to the war right now? They have, of course, ramped up criticism, but haven't fundamentally changed unconditional U.S. support to Israel.
Well, Yasmin, I supported the idea of the bear hug, right? I thought it was right for President Biden to go to Israel in the aftermath of the horrific October 7th attacks and to say to the Israeli people, the United States is with you. It's what's followed that, where I don't think that the Biden administration has most effectively used the leverage that it has, because we have had this pattern where for months and months after the bear hug, you had President Biden requesting, demanding that certain actions being taken, only to be mostly ignored by Netanyahu, and often in very public ways. And I'm not just talking about the fact that humanitarian assistance did not flow the way it should have flowed, or exactly the way the war in Gaza was conducted. I'm also thinking about things like the president trying to create some light at the end of this very dark tunnel by talking about the need to somehow have a two-state solution going forward, only to be very publicly rebuffed by Prime Minister Netanyahu. And even today on the ground in the West Bank, every day we see more and more extremist settler violence. Just the other day, we saw Smotrich, one of the ministers in the Netanyahu government, essentially take steps to legalize all these illegal outposts. We've seen over the many last months additional land grabs of Palestinian land in the West Bank. So for all these reasons, I do believe the Biden administration needs to be more effective in using our leverage. I do want to say I applaud them for the actions they've taken with respect to some of the sanctions they've placed on settlers in the West Bank, and they just opened the door a little wider recently on that. I applaud them if they're going to move forward finally on the Leahy law piece. But while we're doing this, there is this ongoing land grab on the West Bank. So I do think the Biden administration really needs, again, to use all the tools at its disposal going forward.